So, how are you all? I hope you all are doing well. And yes, today's session we are gonna do a new chapter named as Biotech. I hope you will accompany me, right? Give us a free cheers to ourselves, and yes, we will do it the best and the better, right? So let's accompany me and let's start with the today's session. Okay? So biotech. So let's firstly read the interface about it. So biotechnology, ever since the days of the René Descartes, the French philosopher, obviously this hard name, René Descartes, mathematician and biologist of the 17th century, all human knowledge, especially the natural sciences, were directed, means उन दिनों जब रेने डेस्कार्ट्स हुआ करती थी द फ्रेंच फिलोसफर मैथमेटिशियन एंड बायोलॉजिस्ट ऑफ द 17th सेंचुरी उन्हें माना जाता था कि जितने भी ऑल ह्यूमन नॉलेज स्पेशली द नेचुरल साइंसेज थे उन सबको डायरेक्ट किया जाता था टू डेवलप द टेक्नोलॉजीज विच एड टू द क्रिएचर कम्फर्ट ऑफ द ह्यूमन लाइफ एज ऑल्सो टू वैल्यू टू ह्यूमन लाइफ मतलब कि उनके टाइम से जो कि मैथमेटिशियन बायोलॉजिस्ट माने जाते थे ये माना जाता था कि हमारे ह्यूमन्स को कुछ क्रिएचर कम्फर्ट्स देने चाहिए कुछ वैल्यू देनी चाहिए ह्यूमन लाइफ की ऑब्वियसली हम लोग इतना डील करते लाइफ में don't we need any type of extra things for us like extra comfort we already having so much for ourselves and yes for me for present all the things are provided by my dad obviously because he's every girl's dad is their superior for them yeah I know I just value the efforts of my parents I think so and I want to be always the same in this way because people change I know maybe I would I don't know what will happen in the future well not talking of anything outside of our theory let's get back on the topic comforts the human life is also to value the human life try to develop the technology such as to the creature but the thing is just that now parents or friends must be there comforts of human technology if set to the creature comfort of the human life helps also to value of human life the whole approach to the understanding the natural phenomenon become anthropocentric ठीक है जो हमारा जो पूरा अप्रोच है ना अंडरस्टैंडिंग नेचुरल फिनोमेना बिकम एंथ्रोपोसेंट्रिक मीन्स ह्यूमन के व्यू से देखी जाने लगी हर चीज़ को फिजिक्स एंड केमिस्ट्री gave rise to engineering technologies and industry which all work for human comfort and obviously humans just want the comfort to sit in the AC and just do what they want right so the major utility of the biological world is also is as a source of food और जो major utility हो रही है means consumption हो रहा है by the humans of the biological world is the food we consume because obviously humans are not photosynthetic yet they will make their food in themselves and then eat themselves is it so even you people depend on your mother for your food even she is also a human being but still the nature gave us the food and is the major utility thing that we are taking from the nature right so the biotechnology the 20th century offshoot of modern biology changed our daily life as its products brought qualitative improvement in health and food production तो बायोटेक्नोलॉजी जो हमें टर्म यूज़ की जाए कहाँ कब से यूज़ की गई द 20th century obviously in which we are also living too सो ऑफशूट ऑफ मॉडर्न बायोलॉजी जिसमें हमारे किस में फोकस किया गया ह्यूमन की कंफर्ट को ज़्यादा प्रायोरिटी देने लगी चेंज ऑफ लाइफ इज फॉर क्वालिटेटिव इम्प्रूवमेंट what is the qualitative important okay so improvement in health and food production means also in the health and the food production the biotech helped us to so get this comfort zone but to achieve something my dear girlies my dear accompanies we must get out of comfort zone and you know what how it feels when you're out of comfort zone you feel so disappointed on yourselves because you have not learned the what is life real life till now and that's the thing that you have to learn in this phase and sometimes it's too tough for me too it is because this phase is not yet over I just overcome it from some time then again the same loop who knows what happened right okay so back on the topic change our life daily life is its product brought quality improvement in health and food production the basic principles underlying the biotechnological process and some applications are highlighted and discussed in this unit तो जो बेसिक प्रिंसिपल था अंडरलाइंग द बायोटेक्नोलॉजी प्रोसेस, जो हमारे बायोटेक्नोलॉजी प्रोसेस है एंड सम एप्लीकेशन सब हाईलाइट किए गए सीरीज पे। तो हमारे बायोटेक में हमने अभी तक जो मेन फोकस है so where we were discussing about the biotech, right? Sorry for the little breaks because I'm interrupted sometimes, not by myself obviously, by intuitives. Okay, so we're learning about the biotech. So the main thing that we learned about this is that it's all about the humans bringing comfort to them, means comfort them to themselves. Okay, so I would complete this sentence this way, because I was saying that the things are done for the comfort of humans, right? So it's like that. So now Herbert Boyer was born in 1936 and brought up in a corner of western Pennsylvania where railroads and mines were the destiny of most young men. He completed the graduate work at the University of Pittsburgh in 1963, following by. So Herbert Boyer was born in 1936. अब पैदा हो गए थे तो कुछ कर नहीं सकते. And brought up in the corner of western Pennsylvania, where railroads and mines were the destiny of the most young man. He completed graduate work at the University of Pittsburgh in 1963, followed by the 3 years of postgraduate studies at Yale. He was such a good, how, because most of peoples were like workers in his area, but still he grew up so great. Commendable. In 1966, Boyer took over assistant professorship at the University of California at San Francisco. By 1969, he performed studies on a couple of restriction enzymes. Okay, so Howard Boyer was born in 1936, but in 1969, he performed some studies on the couple of restriction enzymes. We would get to know about this in the chapter. Of the E. coli bacterium with especially useful properties. जिनके पास E. coli bacterium पे उन्होंने क्या किया experiments. He studied on a couple of restriction enzymes of the E. coli bacterium which especially useful for properties. With especially useful properties, Boyer observed that these enzymes had the capability of cutting DNA strands in a particular fashion, which left what was become known as sticky ends on the strands. These clipped ends made pasting together pieces of DNA a precise exercise. This discovery in turn led to a rich and rewarding conversation in Hawaii with the highlights in the Hawaii, you and I, right? So we can. Otherwise, this information is not so important. But by Hawaii, we can remember our Stanford scientist who was named Stanley Cohen. So we are dealing with Herbert Boyer, who was born in 1936, but he conducted the experiments in 1969 with what? He conducted the experiments on the restriction enzymes of the E. coli bacteria, which cuts the DNA strands. Which cuts the DNA strands in a particular fashion. What I tell this? In a particular fashion, and has left to become as known as sticky ends. Sticky ends are the ends that are separated when the DNA strands are cut by the RE. RE is the restriction enzymes, and in which organism? E. coli bacterium. Fine. Now let's move in the next stanza. So obviously we are talking about the Hawaii with this discovery in turn led to a rich and rewarding conversation. Hawaii with a Stanford scientist named Stanley Cohen. Cohen had been studying small ringlets of DNA called the plasmids and which float about freely in the cytoplasm of the certain bacterial cells and replicate independently from the coding strand of DNA. So it's like this that with Stanley Cohen. Cohen was studying about the small ringlets of DNA called the plasmids. As we all know that the E. coli has its own genetic material, and plasmid is also a genetic material which floats in the cytoplasm. And replicate independent from the coding strand of the DNA. Cohen had developed a method of removing this plasmid from the cell and then reinserting them in the other cells. So Cohen has found out a way that this genetic material can be taken out from this E. coli bacteria, can be inserted in a different way in other cells. Combining this process with that of DNA splicing enabled by Boyer and Cohen to recombine these segments of DNA in desired configuration and insert the DNA in bacteria cells. research which could then act as a manufacturing plants for specific proteins. This breakthrough was the basis upon which the discipline of the biotechnology was formed. सो अगेन कोहेन ने क्या किया, डेवलप किया जिससे मेथड कि हम लोग रिमूव कर सके प्लाज्मिड को सेल से और इस री इंसर्टिंग देम इन अदर सेल्स कंबाइन दिस प्रोसेस विद दैट ऑफ डीएनए स्प्लाइसिंग. डीएनए स्प्लाइसिंग हमारे क्या होता है कि डीएनए स्ट्रैंड्स को काटा जा रहा था. कौन काट रहा था? आरई एंजाइम काट रहा था. तो बोयर एंड कोहेन टू रिकम्बाइन द सेगमेंट्स ऑफ डीएनए इन अ डिजायर्ड कॉन्फिगरेशंस एंड टू इंसर्ट द डीएनए इन बैक्टीरियल सेल्स. तो यहाँ पे क्या करें, कंबाइन दिस प्रोसेस दैट डीएनए स्प्लाइसिंग इनेबल्ड बोयर एंड कोहेन टू रिकम्बाइन द सेगमेंट्स ऑफ डीएनए इन ए डिजायर्ड कॉन्फिगरेशन. तो इसने कोहेन और बोयर को ये अलाउ किया कि वो जो डीएनए के सेगमेंट्स हैं उन्हें किसी फैशन में अरेंज कर सके इन डिजायर्ड कॉन्फिगरेशन एंड इंसर्ट द डीएनए बैक्टीरियल सेल्स. और इन्होंने अपने हिसाब से कॉन्फिगरेशन बनाया, उस कॉन्फिगरेशन को बैक्टीरियल सेल में डाला विच कुड देन एक्ट एज ए मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्लांट फॉर स्पेसिफिक प्रोटीन्स. और अपने हिसाब से जब उन्होंने डीएनए का कॉन्फिगरेशन बनाया था तो उन्होंने इस हिसाब से बताया ताकि वो एक्ट कर सके एज अ मैन्युफैक्चरिंग प्लांट्स फॉर स्पेसिफिक प्रोटीन्स. ठीक है, दिस ब्रेक थ्रू वॉज द बेसिस अपॉन विच द डिसिप्लिन ऑफ बायोटेक, और इसी बेसिस पे बायोटेक वॉज फॉर्म. ओके, सो इट्स लाइक दिस. सो shouldn't we go through a back show? We should do it ourselves, right? Keeping the book aside, let's get a rapid check of ourselves, what we learned. So tell me what you learned. We learned that the Herbert Boyer was born in 1936. He was born in 1936. He, in 1969, found the RE enzyme which in E. coli bacterium cuts the DNA strands into specific fragments in a different way, right? In a orderly fashion way. So it was like this. This was done by Herbert Boyer. Then in Hawaii, he met the Stanford scientist whose name is Stanley Cohen. What did Cohen found? He was researching the DNA ringlets. What were the DNA ringlets? They were the plasmids. So when he was studying through the plasmids, so it was found that the plasmid can be taken out from the bacterial cell and can be transferred to other cells too. So what they did, Stanley Cohen and Boyer found out that okay, Boyer said, this is your brother. I will do that. The DNA splicing process would help us to make a manufacturing plant for making specific proteins. He didn't speak like that. And about the Cohen, he said, okay, I found a plasmid by which we can transfer this thing which we are designing for transfer method. So Stanley Cohen and Boyer did this. So what they did was just that they combined their ideas, the idea of the Herbert Boyer that we should do like this, that we should do the RNA enzyme that does this DNA splicing, and they Cohen put forward his area of what saying. He said, okay, the plasmid can be transferred from one bacterial cell, taken out from the cytoplasm to other cell, and then we can do like this. This plasmid would carry the property of DNA splicing, so the DNA would be spliced and some sticky variants would left. But then in the plasmid, we were insert that thing that we want to be replicated actually, and it can be transferred to the next cell, and this is how we can replicate what we want. Again, done for the comforts of the humans. Now let's move towards the chapter. What's the chapter name? Biotechnology, Principle and Processes. Let's start with it. Principles of biotechnology, rules of recombinant DNA technology, and process of the recombinant DNA technology. So biotechnology deals with the techniques of using the live organisms or enzymes from organisms to produce products and processes useful to humans. Obviously, this is the other thing that we have they have read in the first of the introductory part, right? When we learned about the Rene Descartes, who was from which era we start talking about the comfort of the humans. So if we like bio students and we want to just remember, when did we actually start talking about the comforts of the humans through the biology? Through the period of the Rene Descartes. Who were the two scientists who put forward the idea of the recombination and the DNA splicing? DNA splicing was found out by the RNA enzyme in the E. coli bacterium was found by Herbert Boyer by the Stanley Cohen. Found about the DNA ringlets that is known as the plasmids. Okay, fine. So biotechnology deals with the techniques of using live organisms, E. coli bacteria, because obviously we are using it to transfer our desired genes into the cells of other bacterial cells to produce products and processes useful to humans. Using live organisms or enzymes from organisms to produce products and processes useful to humans. In this sense, making curd, bread, or wine, which are all macro-mediated processes, could also be taught as a form of biotechnology. Obviously, we are making the curd, bread, or wine. These are also micro-mediated processes. We are using the microbes, but who is consuming all this curd you enjoy with the sugar if you use it? So, curd, how is it made? You know the bacteria lactobacillus, right? Obviously, it's taught to all of us. So, lactobacillus is the bacteria used in the making curd, but also for the human comfort, obviously. Bread or wine, so obviously bread and wine also mercury with the yeast bacteria all are used. Saccharomyces cerevisiae. Then the wine production industry is the most commonly used. So, also as a form of biotechnology, however, it is used as restricted sense today to refer to such of these processes which use genetically modified organisms to achieve the same on a larger scale. Further, many other processes techniques are also included in the biotechnology. For example, in vitro fertilization, leading to a test tube baby, synthesizing a gene and using it, developing a DNA vaccine or correcting defective gene or pattern. So, the first line it says that biotechnology is all about using the microbes or any living organisms or any enzymes to benefit the humans. But in the next line, it says that now it particularly is most commonly known as like it's something we are using some kind of extra technology. We are some kind of some kind of new things we are creating, means genetically modified organisms we are using for creating the things that benefit the humans. That is mostly in this new era is thought to be the new definition of biotech, but it's not like that. So it say that, for example, in vitro fertilization means like making a test tube baby is a biotech. Okay. And synthesizing a gene and using it, developing a DNA vaccine or correcting a defective gene are all part of biotechnology. So actually we are using a genetically modified organisms in vitro fertilization. It's a question in our mind. How can test tube baby or biotech, right? Answer you with this in the next video. So next video will be answering our own doubts. If you were asking how would I do, so obviously my pen is overfast. I need to replace it. No, I am correct whenever I use it to find it's working. So test tube baby. Synthesizing a gene and using it. If you're synthesizing a gene and using it, it's also come under the biotech. And when we are doing like correcting developing a DNA vaccine, if you're developing a DNA vaccine, then it's also a part of the biotech. And if you're correcting a defective gene, are all part of the biotechnology. So the European Federation of Biotech (EFB) has given a definition of biotechnology that encompasses both this kind of theories. So this means the new and the old both can be used to consider a explanation that can be fit in the both. So we're dealing with that. So moving on the next paragraph. So European Federation of the Biotechnology (EFB) has given a definition of the biotechnology that encompasses both terrestrial view and the modern molecular biotechnology. The definition given by the EFB is as follows. So we are talking about the EFB definition it's given. So obviously it's about that, and because we need to combine the tradition of the new technology, so we can find a new better definition. So it's like the integration of the natural science and organisms, cells, parts thereof, and molecular analogs for products and services, all called as the biotech. Okay. So the integration of the natural science and organisms. So obviously you can understand what you're talking about the natural sciences and the organisms, cells, parts, different molecular analog products and services. Now principles of biotech. So obviously we took 20 minutes in just the intro. I don't know if it's worth it, but I hope you got all the points right. yeah, changed because we are going to study the biotech. So shouldn't we always work so about studying the biotech? So yeah, I just cut this hair all by myself. Is it looking cool? Obviously it would be, right? And here. So let's begin. The definition given by ELB is as follows: the integration of natural science and organism cells part of molecular analogs of products and services. It seems so tiring. Let's keep this video as one year intro. See you in the next video.